Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well. I am so excited to be recording today. It's been a while since I could just sit down and be by myself and record. So, thank you guys so much for pulling up. So, I want to get into all of the hoopla that was going on over the weekend. This past weekend, DrAkE headlined the Wireless Festival that takes place every summer in London, and he headlined all 3 days, and he had some special guests come out, one of those being Latto, some female rappers, Latto as well as Sexy Red. Now, we might focus on Latto for the majority of this video, but of course, I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this and the implications that it has for, her situation with Nicki Minaj, as well as DrAke's relationship with Nicki Minaj. And what do you guys think about the loyalty or lack thereof that they have between them? So, feel free, please sit back and relax. Please like the video. Make sure that your notifications are on for this channel so that you guys never miss when I go live or when I upload. Y'all know it's a lot of stuff going on these days. So we taking a break from the Jay-Z and Nicki Minaj stuff to get into this. And so, of course, when DrAkE brings Latto out, a lot of the barbs are up in arms because of the beef that Latto and Nicki Minaj had. Dang, I wish I could play the intro of how he brought Latto out on stage, but there's music under there. So DrAkE seems pretty excited. He was telling the crowd, like, it's been a lot of guys on stage. Let's make this night about the ladies. They embrace and a hug. So, and Latto was super excited. This is a huge, huge, huge crowd. So, yeah, like, how did you guys feel about this happening? I didn't feel any way, and I still don't really feel any way about it because, of course, we've already seen Latto and DrAkE collab. Her posted up on his Instagram, her doing like some modeling for his clothing line, I believe, and then they had a collab together, which I think probably dropped like earlier this year. So, of course, like at first, it probably was a bit abrasive to me, being that like Latto was one of Nicki's ops that I really, 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 really did not like, and the difference for me between Nicki's issues with other women in the industry, the difference for me from Latto when all of the other women like a Cardi B or Megan Thee Stallion or insert whoever, is that the what we saw happen between Latto and Nicki, we saw it in real time happen in front of our eyes on social media, right? All of Nicki's other beefs and stuff like that probably happened behind the scenes and didn't really play out on social media. And that was one of the reasons I had so much smoke for Latto. But one thing about me is that like I don't stay angry for long, like as long as you keep doing what you're doing or whatever. Latto is still, floating around like she hasn't hit like superstar status or whatever, but she's doing what she has to do. She takes time away, and then she comes back, and you can't lie, Latto do be having an impact within, like the hip hop community and stuff like that, because a lot of people, even though I don't really care for the song, like a lot of people are be chanting like Big Mama and stuff like that. So it's like, as long as somebody is like staying focused on themselves and kind of staying out the way, staying out of drama, like how can you really be mad at that? So in terms of, now like DrAke's relationship with Nicki Minaj, now he started his whole Iceman rollout posting Nicki on his story, and in that photo Nicki was wearing the color blue, which I feel like that goes with his whole visual direction for this era or whatever he's doing, because it is Iceman. So I get it. What do we really think about him and Nicki? Now, here's my thing, and I know, as always, child, I'm always going to have an unpopular opinion because it's me. I mean, hey, what do we expect out of me these days? So I think that it really doesn't matter. For example, like, and it's really kind of like, because when I see these things, I just like keep scrolling. I don't really think anything about it. But then once I see the uproar on social media, it's like people are always mad because DrAkE doesn't seem to have any loyalty to Nicki or the artist of Young Money, and I can agree with that. But honestly, like, I don't know if I really care like that. Like, we talk about like Jay-Z being someone who is only out for self, and I think that, and DrAkE is the kind of the same way, like, but probably in a different way or whatever. And obviously Nicki is obviously okay with that because she never speaks out against him. And that doesn't mean that Nicki is not, never gets annoyed or doesn't like DrAkE. Like, do you really think that DrAkE F with Nicki like that? Probably not. And anytime they have collabs together, he doesn't really promote that. I'm not really sure why. I think that is a good question. So he doesn't really promote their collabs. And yeah, I don't know. I don't really feel like DrAkE F with Nicki like that. Like, I don't see a lot of like energy between them, especially if it's not coming from her side or whatever. And it's so funny how like people make a big deal of these things.
Every time I talk, you know it's facts.
Is crazy because even though he might not promote their collabs, he came to support her on tour, I think at her Toronto show. And I don't know, maybe she had to beg him to do that. Really not sure. You let me know what you think. And here's why I feel like Nicki really don't care about what Drake does. Because at the end of the day, Nicki knows that Drake is good for a collab. He's good for music. He's good for the nostalgia aspect of her career and her artistry, which is very plays out very strongly these days. And he's also good for numbers, right? And so I think that Nicki feels like she doesn't really speak out against Drake publicly because, and listen, she don't have to, and he has never defended her, right? Nicki didn't really defend him like that during his battle with Kendrick Lamar. And if you really read between the lines, you can tell how Nicki really feels about that battle, which we'll probably talk about in another video. But I think that Nicki knows that Drake is good for business. At the end of the day, Drake is good for her business that's heavily dependent on music. So whenever she really needs him for a favor, which is a feature on an album or coming out on tour together, she wants to be able to call on him no matter how many times she got to call and beg for him to do, like whatever she wants him to do. And, he'll pop out for her because he won't do it. Obviously, nobody would do it if you speak out against him and stuff like that. So I think that at the end of the day, Nicki knows that Drake is good for business, and that's really what it is. But Drake is allowed to do like whatever he wants, and she can do whatever she wants. Like I also see a lot of people saying like, "Oh my God, I wish Nicki would collab with Kendrick and Child." And once again, if you listen between the lines, you know that that is not gonna happen ever. And if it do happen, then me and Nicki gonna have to have another conversation, right? But Nicki is super loyal. She's loyal to a fault at times. So I really like don't see it happening. But I really think people just gotta like move out of their feelings when it comes to Drake, being that I just told you probably how Nicki views it. Not to say that, I'm right or whatever, but it's just like really think about it. Like really think about why she don't say anything. And one thing I do respect about Nicki is that she don't really talk about in all of her exposing that she does on the industry, she doesn't talk about like the home team, which would be Young Money, which would be Drake, Wayne, and Birdman, even though like a lot of people would say, especially in the time where we're exposing Jay-Z for, owing her money and whatever, it's just like, well, some people will say, well, what about Wayne? Like what about how Birdman impacted Wayne, putting him in financial troubles that could have potentially impacted your career and your finances? What about Wayne, who allegedly sold, his part of your catalog? And like what about that? Like Nicki never says nothing about that. And while I feel like some of those points are valid, and I have questions about that as well, wondering how Nicki feels about those things, she never speaks out about the family, about the home team. So I really appreciate it because I always talk about like maintaining a united front. And I think that Nicki is a great example of that, out of all of the artists, of Young Money and stuff. So I really hope that like people can just not even like, it doesn't even make sense to be worried about what Drake and Latto are doing, or Latto coming out for Drake, because at the end of the day, like Latto ain't on she's not on Nicki's level or whatever. She could never replace Nicki or anything that Drake and Nicki built together. So I don't really understand why fans, are so up in arms anytime Drake does something with another female rapper, or especially one that is in opposition towards Nicki. And honestly, I really don't even think like Latto really be on that type of time anymore. And I've seen other people say that they think that Latto reached out to Nicki to apologize behind the scenes, which is probably why Drake gives her a pass. But I don't know. Like I don't really think so, to be honest with you. Probably, maybe, but like why does Drake need Nicki permission or approval to go and work with Latto? You would think so, but like in the way that Drake has been moving over the past 10 to 15 years, like who is Nicki to Drake? Like, like why does Drake need Nicki's approval for anything? So once again, I think it's best that we take our feelings out of it as fans, because they have their own relationships as people, as humans, as associates, as colleagues in business and stuff like that. And those are things that we'll never know. And it's so unfortunate, and for my part, because it's like I really want to know. Like I really want to know the tea on Young Money, on the Young Money artists, what really happened between them, well, like why they don't really F with each other like that, and how Nicki really feel about like this. But it'll never really be talked about or whatever. So as you can see, he also brought out Sexy Red. Sexy ain't got no problems with Nicki, for real, for real. And they also people say that like 21 Savage is the reason why Latto gets those opportunities from Drake. So you guys let me know what you think. I'm sure that that plays a part in it or whatever, allegedly, because they are together. But and then allegedly like Latto's sister is effing Drake as well. So it's like at the end of the day, like who cares? Like I do not care about this girl for real, for real. You know, if she make a good song, then cool. If not, then that's cool. You know, I don't really have much energy for Latto, no smoke for her, no hate for real, for real. But yeah, like, you know, once again, shout out to Sexy Red. You know, a lot of people, I guess, like to see her and Drake together as well. I don't care for Sexy Red like that for real, because yeah, like her music ain't really all of that. And I don't even listen to Drake at all. So I'm definitely not listening to whatever collabs they got, you know? So yeah, I would love to know how you guys feel about everything we talked about in this video. Do you think that Drake should be held accountable for collabing with Nicki's ops? What do you think happened between Latto and Nicki at this point? Do you think that they may have had a behind the scenes conversation? Do you think that Latto has tried to reach out and apologize to Nicki or whatever? Do you feel like Latto even owes Nicki an apology? I don't know, you know. So I'm really interested in reading you guys' comments and stuff like that. And I really just appreciate you for making it to the end of this video. So please like it and please subscribe to the channel. Once again, make sure all of your notifications are on. And I can't wait to see what you guys have to say in the comments. Peace.
Play with somebody say for.
It's your girl Vina Love, the Harlem Princess, your favorite princess, and this is Destiny Villa.
Period.